The restaurant smelled faintly of rosemary and butter, the kind of place that whispered class through every polished glass and soft note of jazz floating in the air. Maya Patel sat at a corner table, tracing circles on her water glass with a trembling finger. She hated blind dates. Every single one ended the same way, with polite smiles, awkward silences, and the man's eyes darting around the room, looking for someone slimmer, someone better. But Nina, her best friend, had begged her to give this one a chance. He's different, Nina had said. He's smart, kind, and he's actually excited to meet you. Excited. That word alone had been enough to convince Maya to come. Though now, as the minutes stretched, she wondered if she was about to be disappointed again. She was just about to reach for her phone when the door opened. A tall man walked in, broad-shouldered and composed, wearing a crisp charcoal suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent. His presence drew attention, not because he was flashy, but because he carried himself with quiet confidence. His eyes scanned the restaurant, searching. When they landed on her, Maya froze. He smiled, genuine and unhurried, and began walking toward her. Maya. His voice was smooth, low, and warm. She managed a nervous smile. Yes, Daniel, that's me. He extended his hand. His grip was firm, his palm warm, his smile unshakable. He sat across from her, glancing around the room before looking back at her. I'm glad you picked this place. It's beautiful. She shrugged. Nina chose it, actually. She thought it was romantic. He chuckled. She's not wrong. His laughter was easy, unpretentious. But still, Maya could feel the familiar edge of insecurity creeping in. She tugged at the sleeve of her black dress, trying to hide the softness of her arms. The dress was simple, dark, flowing, the kind meant to disguise rather than flaunt. So, Maya, he said, breaking the silence, Nina tells me you're an art teacher. Her face lit up despite herself. Yeah, I teach at a community school. Kids between 6 and 12. They're exhausting but amazing. He smiled. You must love it. I do, she admitted. Though sometimes it feels like I'm trying to paint hope on a wall that keeps cracking. That's the thing about hope, he said softly. It sticks, even when the wall crumbles. She looked up, surprised by his words. Most men didn't talk like that. Most men didn't see her like that. The waiter came, took their orders, and left them alone again. So, Daniel, she said, trying to sound casual, what do you do? Nina said you run some kind of business. He smiled slightly. Something like that. I started a tech company about 7 years ago. We design software for hospitals. Boring stuff, really. Boring. She laughed. Helping hospitals run better sounds important. He shrugged modestly. I just wanted to build something that mattered. There was a pause. Then he said, you know, you seem nervous. Maya froze. Is it that obvious? He smiled kindly. A little, but it's okay. I am too. She blinked. You're nervous. Well, you. He tilted his head. And what's that supposed to mean? Her cheeks warmed. You know, you're confident, successful, tall, handsome. You're the kind of guy people expect to walk in with a model on his arm. He laughed softly. That's funny, because I was thinking you'd be intimidating. Me, she scoffed. Intimidating. You have this calmness, he said. Like you've fought battles and learned not to let the world see the scars. Maya stared at him, caught off guard. No one had ever said anything like that to her. People usually saw her size first, her kindness second, and her worth never. She tried to laugh it off. That's one poetic way to describe someone who eats her feelings after bad dates. He didn't laugh. He just looked at her, quietly thoughtful. You've had a lot of bad ones, huh? She hesitated, then sighed. You could say that. I've met men who couldn't look past a few extra pounds. One even told me. She stopped, then gave a short, bitter chuckle. No one marries a fat girl, Maya. Her voice cracked at the end. The words had haunted her for years, a ghost she carried into every conversation. Daniel didn't flinch. He didn't look awkward or uncomfortable. He just leaned back slightly, his eyes soft. That's a cruel thing to say. Cruel, yes, but true, apparently, she muttered. People don't see fat women as women to love. Just to pity, or fix, or hide. He was quiet for a long moment, then said, maybe it's time someone proved them wrong. She looked up sharply. What? He smiled faintly. You said no one marries a fat girl. Maybe it's time we show them that they're wrong. Her heart stuttered. You don't even know me. I know enough to see that you've let other people's lies shrink you, he said gently. And that's a shame, because you're clearly someone who deserves to take up space. The waiter returned with their food, saving her from having to reply. But as they began to eat, something shifted. She laughed more. He told her about his early failures, how his first company almost bankrupted him, how he'd lived on instant noodles for months. She told him about her students and how one little girl drew her a picture labeled, Miss Maya, the superhero of crayons. By dessert, the nervousness had melted away. She caught herself watching the way he listened, really listened, without judgment or impatience. It was disarming. When they finally stepped outside, the air was cool, the city lights glimmering against the night. Daniel walked beside her, hands in his pockets, quiet but not distant. So, he said after a moment, can I see you again? Maya's heart jumped. You'd want to. Of course, he said simply. You're easy to talk to. You make me forget to check my phone, and that's rare for me. She smiled, caught between disbelief and warmth. You might regret that. I talk a lot about paint and kids who think blue is called sad color. He grinned. Then I'll learn to like sad color. They reached her car, and she turned to face him. Thank you, she said softly. For what? For not making me feel like a joke. He shook his head. You're not a joke, Maya. You're the kind of person people remember. And if some fool said no one marries a fat girl, he paused, his eyes meeting hers. Then maybe it's time the world met the man who will. Her breath caught. She didn't know what to say, didn't even know what she was feeling, only that something inside her, something that had been bruised and buried, had started to heal. As she drove away that night, she realized her hands weren't shaking anymore. For the first time in years, she didn't feel small. She felt seen. And that, she thought, might just be the start of proving everyone wrong.